Welcome back to Lindsay Acres Farms. I'm Buddy Lindsay, and you might be able to tell this is not my homestead. This is not my garage. This is not even my land right now, but it will be. And we're going to turn this into a homestead. This is some family land, and I was recently given the opportunity to be able to buy a portion of it, about 20 acres, so that we could get established out here. I turned 40 this year, and I need to make a move from our 2 acres into a larger piece of property while I'm still young enough to do the physical labor to get it all done. So with that, we are going to build on this property. As you can see, it is raw. There is nothing on this part of the property. I don't have electricity, I don't have septic, I don't have anything. This road right here actually started as a cut-in to stop a fire, and we just kind of drove over it and kind of kept it there. So I've got to figure out how to make a road even. And so that's where this is going to be a fun series of getting to start from scratch, building and designing a homestead. And one of the first steps is to hire a design consultant, a permaculture design consultant, to come out and actually assess the property and tell me what they think and how to actually do stuff and where to put it. But we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But so I guess the first question is, who am I and why am I doing this? Well, I'm turning 40 years old. I'm a software developer, and I have been wanting to make a transition into doing homestead. I've spent the last several years doing a lot of learning, pretty much mastered dealing with chickens, done a lot of research on doing cows and doing pasture raised things and just all kinds of stuff. And I feel like I have maxed out what I can do at the 2 acres that we lived out, and I'm ready to branch out and go to the next step. There's a lot of things that have kind of concluded where we are, and this opportunity has opened up, so I feel like it's a good natural progression. Well, first we got to get this place, getting utilities. We need to be able to build a house. We need to do some clearing. I mean, this is all, like, you can't tell, but right through here is about 5,000 little 1-inch trees. When the fire came through many years ago, it cleaned out a lot of area, took down a lot of dead stuff, and just really promoted growth of a lot of these little bitty trees. And so we've got to clear it all out. There's trees back in there that are going bad, and we got to do some forestry management as well. And so this is going to be a long project, and is going to be an interesting opportunity to learn how to just do it. I've never done it before, and so I want to bring you along for that ride. I also feel like as a family, we're ready for that adventure. The kids aren't super small anymore, and they can get out and they can kind of entertain themselves. The older kids can actually start helping. Just everything is just kind of moved and coalesced, and I feel like this is a good opportunity for our family. And that's really one of the big things, is I want to build this place up as a place for the family to come, to live, and then to be able to call home and come back. The other side is I want to preserve as much as I can of the family legacy that already lives out here, and kind of do what I can to extend that. So I'd say let's get a little specific about what I want to accomplish. The first thing is I've got to get electricity out here. The next thing, and this is kind of a rough, like, these are the things that need to happen, not necessarily the very specific order. I guess the first thing is I got to get a road. Then I've got to figure out electricity, and then I've got to figure out a pad for getting 2 containers out here, and I want to build a shelter over those 2. That way we can bring some equipment down and we can actually store it somewhere, and it's kind of safe out of the weather. It's also got to be off the road so that people don't actually see it. The next thing I've got to get done is I've got to design a house. I have absolutely no clue how to do that. I have some ideas on how to do that, and I have some research that I've done on how to do that, but a little bit. And so I've got to figure out the process of that. From there, I've got more work to do. Once I get the house design done, then I can figure out how big of a septic system to build. So I've got to build a septic system out here to be able to support the house, and I need to move a camper down here. I'm hoping to get a cheap camper. We borrowed one from my in-laws to be able to go camping here and there. Hopefully they'll let us borrow that. We'll see. But I got to put a place to do the black water tank and dump that in somewhere, because or else we're going to be boondocking. And then all along the way, I've got to figure out how much work I can actually do of this on my own. I feel like I could do all the work on my own, but I have a timeline here. I have about 2 years that I want to take before we actually move into the property, and then be able to start more of the full-fledged, like, homesteady stuff. So if I had unlimited time, I feel like I could get it all done and build it all myself. So I've got to figure out where I can fit in what with what that I can actually accomplish and what equipment to buy to do that. Which really leads me to my next point. This is not going to be a series on how to get stuff done the cheapest and how to DIY it all yourself. I'm going to do as much as I can myself. I'm going to do stuff where it makes sense. But there's areas that while I can do it, I do not want to do it, and you do not want me to do it. If you want to hear a lot of bad words, put me on a roof to do roofing. That is not a place that I need to be, because I'm going to get pissed off really fast. I'm going to make a lot of mistakes. So don't get me on a roof on a house that I want to live in for the next 50 years. And really, that's another key central driving component of this. I want to build a house that is going to last 50, 60, 70, 100 years from now, so that I can potentially pass it on to my kids, so that when I get the farm and the homestead up and going and producing an income and being a place that my kids can come back to, they can always have a place to live, they can always have a job to do. This is just kind of a refuge from the rest of the world for our family, and there is something always to be done, and there's something that will always produce a result so that the family can survive and live. So that means I've got to dig deep into house design, into property design, into location design, and where to put things at. And right now, this seems like a great place to go. I hit that tree. This seems like a great place to build. It's not the flattest. There's kind of a tilt here, but you know, just leveling a pad, putting things in, doing a road, and we should be pretty good. It's a nice spot, and with 20 acres, you can kind of spread it around, and you can get good things. The biggest thing, you're gonna have to deal with drainage, we're gonna have to deal with other stuff, but this is a pretty nice spot. It's not all the way up to the hill, and it's not all the way down in the valley, so that means that we're not gonna get a strong wind when we're on top, and we're not gonna get stagnant dead water down at the very, very, very bottom here. Now, that does mean most of my property's on a hill, so that'll be an interesting thing to deal with. On that note, in the full realization I have no idea what I'm doing, I decided to hire a design consultant, a permaculture design consultant. Really, I hired him because he's an expert in all of this, and he knows a lot more than I do, and he can help me make some decisions so that I don't make type 1 errors. Basically, that I don't put the house in the wrong spot, in the wrong locations, and spend a lot of extra money doing things to fix that problem and then never really fully get fixed. So the gentleman I hired is Nick Ferguson, great permaculture design guy, and I've known him for several years, and I actually had him come out to our current house, and we did a full day walk around and looked at everything just on 2 acres, and he flipped everything on its head that we had out there. Had so many great ideas. We implemented several of them. I couldn't get my wife on board for several of them, and that's just the nature of the beast. But he took all the ideas that we had, looked at the property and said, there's no point in doing that here because it's just not going to work. He also is like, hey, if you do this, this, and this, you can maximize the functionality of this particular space and with a lot less effort. And it was just like, boom, never even considered most of the options that he gave me. And I was like, if he's doing that at a place that I currently live on 2 acres, imagine what he could do on a bigger location. And let me tell you something. I had him come out and we walked the property. We spent 8 hours out here. It was awesome. And he destroyed every idea that I had and made it 1,000 times better. And he instantly saved me tens of thousands of dollars in that one day. We walked to a different part of the property that I wasn't expecting to move on. See, where we're at here is just one chunk of the property. And I was like, this looks like a good spot because I'm naive and dumb. And we came out here, we looked at it, and he's like, yeah, you're gonna run into some problems. See, these trees are 50 years old, but they're only 20 feet tall, 30 feet tall. That means there's rock down below, probably 12 inches under the ground if you're lucky. And our water table is our freeze depth is 20 inches. That's just one example of things that he put out. So that means we're gonna have a problem running water in this area. So over the course of the consult, we realized this is not a great place to build. We need to change locations. And where we changed locations changed everything in the ideas that we had for the property. Everything. Things I had never considered, things I had given up on as an opportunity, he was able to bring back into the forefront as an opportunity again and make it a central piece of the property. It was amazing. He not only saved us tens of thousands of dollars right away in tweaks and modifications and changing location on the property, but also saved us probably hundreds of thousands of dollars in other issues over the course of the next 20, 30, 40 years. That was well worth the time. It was well worth the effort. We learned a ton of stuff, and I want to get into that in the next video. I'm going to dig deep into that because it was just such a shock and awe thing. And I told my wife before we came out for that day, I wonder what it is that he's going to see, say, do, or think, and is going to communicate to us that is going to obliterate everything and change everything that we had to do. And he did it. I knew he would do it. He would see that thing, he would communicate it, and it would be like, oh my gosh, we did not see that. How did we miss it? We have got to do that. And that's what he did. And yeah, it's awesome. I'm totally looking forward to this project. The idea is a lot of the decisions that I'm going to make is for the future. It is for, I'm thinking 100 years out. What can I do today to plan for 100 years from now? But what can I do today also that sets us up so that in 30 years, we're sitting in luxury whenever I'm 70 years old and can't move quite as well, and things are a little bit easy to set up. So that's the goal of the project, is to build a house, get out here, and set everything up so that when we're old, we can still do the things that we love out here, but it just isn't as hard. And so it is a lot of future prep. There's a lot of DIY, and it's going to be a lot of fun, and I hope you will join me. Hit subscribe and like and everything else, and join me on this journey, because we're going to spend the next couple of years building this out. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I have some interesting plans in mind that I'm not going to communicate quite yet, and it's going to be fun, and I will see you next time.